Let's be real for a second. One of the most confusing places you can find yourself isn't in rejection. It's in that gray zone where friendship feels warmer than it should. You get those late replies that still come through. Laughs that seem to linger a bit too long. She tells you everything, but never calls it anything. That quiet feeling in your chest, that's not you being paranoid. That's your mind picking up on patterns. And tonight, I want to walk you through something most guys never fully see until it's already passed them by. I'm going to share some insights from what I've learned through research, conversations, and real experiences about how attraction sometimes hides when it can't show itself openly. Studies on social behavior suggest that many people are taught early on to soften their expressions of interest, especially when it feels complicated or uncertain. So instead of direct flirting, interest can leak out sideways. It disguises itself as comfort, as trust, as you're easy to talk to. Friendship becomes the cover, not the whole story. Here's something a lot of guys misunderstand. When someone truly sees you only as a friend, your presence doesn't really shift their emotional state. You're comfortable, sure, safe, absolutely, but not activating. When there's hidden attraction, your presence changes the temperature in the room. Conversations feel charged, even when you're talking about nothing. Silences don't feel empty, they feel full. Notice how she listens to you, not politely, not casually, but with her whole attention angled toward what you're saying. She remembers small details you never thought mattered and brings them back weeks later. That's not just friendliness, that's emotional investment. From what psychology tells us, attraction tends to invest before it reveals itself. Pay attention to when she comes to you emotionally, not just when she's bored, but when she's overwhelmed, uncertain, or shaken. Research on emotional vulnerability shows that people don't bring their guard down around just anyone. They bring it to people who feel steady and quietly trustworthy. If she leans on you in moments when her defenses are down, that door isn't locked, it's just guarded. Another subtle tell is in her boundaries. When someone isn't attracted, boundaries are firm and unconscious. When attraction exists but isn't spoken, boundaries become inconsistent. She might allow things with you she wouldn't with others, then suddenly pull back. That push and pull isn't manipulation, it's internal conflict, desire arguing with caution. Watch how she reacts to your absence. If you pull back slightly and she fills the gap, reaches out, asks questions, creates reasons to connect, that's not random. Attraction doesn't like distance. Friendship can tolerate it. This is where a lot of guys panic and start over-pursuing. Don't. Space doesn't kill attraction. It exposes it. There's also the way she positions you in her world. She doesn't rush to label you. She keeps things undefined. Not because you don't matter, but because defining you would force a decision she's not ready to make yet. Ambiguity protects interest when timing feels off. I need you to understand this clearly. If she truly saw you as just a friend, none of this would feel confusing. Confusion isn't a signal of disinterest. It's a signal of attraction under restraint. And restraint always leaves clues. What a lot of guys miss is that attraction doesn't always start with flirting. It starts with attention that feels selective. When someone is secretly attracted, they treat you differently in ways they might not even notice themselves. Her tone softens, her energy changes. She becomes more expressive, more animated, or sometimes quieter in a way that feels intimate. Listen closely to how she talks about other guys around you. When there's no attraction, she speaks freely, almost carelessly. When there is, her words become edited. She downplays interests, exaggerates flaws, or mentions them in ways that feel almost performative. People don't manage perception around those they feel neutral about. Another sign lives in how she seeks your validation without directly asking for it. She'll mention something she's unsure about and pause, waiting. She'll ask your opinion and actually sit with your answer. That's not just being friendly, that's subconscious alignment. Attraction wants approval, not because it's needy, but because it cares. Notice physical proximity. She may not touch you overtly, but she finds reasons to be near, standing closer than necessary, sitting beside you, even when there's space elsewhere, leaning in when she speaks. The body reveals what words won't risk. When attraction is hidden, it communicates through distance management. There's also something important in how she reacts to your confidence, not arrogance or performance, but calm self-direction. When you talk about your goals, your values, your standards, does she become more attentive, more curious? Experts on interpersonal dynamics suggest attraction responds to grounded self-assurance. Friendship doesn't. A lot of guys make the mistake of trying to prove themselves in this phase. They become overly available, overly helpful, overly agreeable. That feels safe, but it doesn't feel exciting. Hidden attraction doesn't need more comfort. It needs contrast. It needs you to stay centered in your own life, not orbiting hers. The moment you stop chasing clarity and start embodying certainty in who you are. The dynamic shift. Watch what happens when you gently challenge her, not confrontationally, just by holding your perspective. If she becomes more engaged instead of defensive, that's attraction responding to strength. Here's the quiet truth most guys aren't told. If she's secretly attracted, she's already imagining scenarios she hasn't let herself admit. She's already asked herself what it would be like if things changed. What stops her isn't lack of desire. It's fear of consequences, social label, timing, loss of control. That's why patience matters more than pressure. Your job isn't to corner her into a confession. Your job is to remain someone whose presence feels steady, intriguing, and self-contained. Attraction grows where there's emotional safety and clear direction. One of the clearest signs is how she reacts when you don't chase her. Not when you disappear or play games, but when you simply remain centered in yourself. You don't rush replies. You don't over-explain. You don't try to earn her attention. And suddenly she becomes more expressive, more open, sometimes even slightly unsettled. That's because attraction expects pursuit. When it doesn't get it, it reveals itself. Someone who sees you only as a friend is comfortable with your emotional availability. Someone who feels more than friendship but hasn't admitted it feels the absence immediately. Your calm restraint creates space for her feelings to rise to the surface. Watch how she responds to your boundaries, when you say no casually, when you prioritize your time, when you don't bend your schedule to accommodate last-minute requests. If she respects you more, leans in emotionally, or becomes more considerate, that's attraction responding to strength. Friendship doesn't recalibrate around boundaries. Desire does. There's also the way she mirrors you, your language, your humor, your emotional rhythm. Research shows that when attraction is present, people subconsciously align with those they're drawn to. If you notice her adopting your phrases, your tone, even your pacing, that's emotional synchronization. Many guys misunderstand emotional support as attraction. They believe listening, helping, and being available will eventually create desire. It won't. Emotional support without contrast creates comfort, not spark. What creates attraction is emotional presence combined with self-respect. When she feels you don't need her approval, but still value her presence, the dynamic shifts. There's a quiet moment that often gives everything away. It's when she looks at you while you're not performing for her, when you're focused on something else, talking to someone else, engaged in your purpose. If her gaze lingers then, unguarded, that's not friendship. That's admiration mixed with desire. Your power here is patience, not passive waiting, but active self-possession. The more you stay grounded, the less she can hide what she feels. Eventually, attraction demands expression, and when it does, it won't come as words first. It will come as effort, initiative, emotional openness she can no longer contain. Here's the truth that ties everything together. If she's secretly attracted to you, the deciding factor isn't whether you say the right thing. It's whether you remain the same person when nothing is guaranteed. Attraction doesn't choose those who seek reassurance. It chooses those who trust themselves enough to let things unfold. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. When you stay grounded, she leans in. When you rush, she hesitates. When you remain self-led, her curiosity deepens. From what we understand about human connection, people respond to emotional steadiness, not emotional urgency. The final sign isn't something she does. It's something she stops doing. She stops testing, stops pulling away, stops managing the connection so carefully. When attraction becomes conscious, effort becomes consistent. She shows up without excuses. She invests without hesitation. This is why your role has never been to get her to like you. If she's secretly attracted, that part already happened. Your role has been to not disqualify yourself by becoming reactive, needy, or impatient. Understand something important. Someone choosing you doesn't begin with words. It begins with peace around you. When she feels calm instead of conflicted, attraction stops hiding. When she feels she won't lose herself by wanting you, desire steps forward naturally. Now ask yourself this honestly. If you removed the need for her validation today, if you fully accepted that you are enough with or without her, how would you show up differently around her? That's the equation that decides everything. You plus self-respect plus patience equals clarity. If this gave you clarity you didn't have before, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more honest conversations. And share this with someone who might be stuck in that confusing space.